Hello and welcome to this edition of Wineskins. I'm Father Jim Korda. Wineskins is a program that features reflections on the lives of the saints and the sacred scriptures, along with a variety of issues and topics, all from a Catholic perspective. Wineskins is brought to you through the annual Diocesan Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts, a division of the Society of St. Paul. On our program today, I will interview Sister Judy Dohner. We will also hear more information on St. Mary Magdalene, and today, as the Church celebrates the 16th Sunday in Ordinary Time, we will get a deeper insight into those particular Sunday readings. That and more on Wineskins. Catholic Charities is an important part of the life of the Church and her members. To share with us an important issue is Breanna Crissman. Joining me now is Breanna Crissman, who is the social media coordinator for Catholic Charities. Welcome to Wineskins.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You know, it's always nice to have someone from Catholic Charities on our show because we learn more about what's really going on in that arm of the ministry of the Church. And one of the things that I'd like to talk about is some of the basic necessities that people need. You know, oftentimes when we look at our own lives, we don't even think about that. But what are some of the basic necessities that you reach out to people for help?
The number one request that we get are hygiene products. That's our number one demand from all of our clients, since like SNAP benefits can't cover that. So that's the number one thing that our clients come to us for throughout all 6 agencies. Mm-hmm.
The other thing that you're involved with is called a community cupboard campaign.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. How long has that been going on, and what's the purpose of it?
It's been going on quite a few years. It runs for a week, strictly just on like website, social media. So it's an online campaign, and we basically just try to collect as many hygiene items as we can and disperse them out to all the agencies.
And let's talk specifically about some of those items. What do they include?
That goes from like toothbrushes, soap, shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, feminine hygiene products, all the way to like cleaning products, Clorox, Lysol.
One thing that comes to mind is that people that are listening sometimes really want to reach out and help. What are some of the basic ways that they could help you in your job?
The easiest way to help is by donating, and we make that very easy by just doing it right online. You can do it right online, or you can visit our locations and drop off to each of our locations. We make it easy with the Amazon wish list because they can go right onto our wish list. They can order the product, and it will get shipped directly to us. And then everything will come to this facility, the Diocese of Youngstown, and then we'll disperse it out to all the 6 counties that we are under.
Very good. One of the other areas that I'd like us to focus on is that for people that are very fortunate, or even people that have basic needs, don't always understand why there are people among us in our communities that really lack those basic needs. Why is that a reality in our world today? Why do people still lack those basic needs, and why should we really reach out to help them?
I don't think people realize how much people actually need these basic hygiene items. It kind of just flies off the radar because it's just so regular, but people that are less fortunate or they don't have the means to buy these everyday items like anybody else would. So it's just not on the radar, I don't think.
Sure. And as a social media coordinator, what basically is your role in that whole campaign to really heighten people's awareness of the basic needs?
My role is to get the word out there. So I'm constantly posting on Facebook, all of our social media platforms, website, helping the community know what our clients are in need of. So helping all of our campaigns and everything that we are doing to try to help our clients. That is basically what I do. I get the word out.
Now let's talk about how that happens. We know that many people are social media savvy, but let's say someone isn't. Where do they start? Where do they go, and how do they actually get to social media?
They can search it in their internet browser. They can go straight to Facebook or Instagram. We have X, which is Twitter. Is morely the main places that we put information out. But even just typing in CCDOY on Google, all of our pages will come up, so you'll be able to easily access us.
One of the things that I'd like us also to focus on briefly is that these things are not really a handout to people. I think it's a way to help people ultimately help themselves. Mm-hmm. How does that happen, and why is that important?
We are always striving to help people in need, and simply just by coming to us, we are able to direct you with whatever services and products we are able to help with.
Let's talk about that sense of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that important?
It's important because, you're helping each other. That's really important when the community comes together, and we are there for our clients and they know that. I think that's really important.
Let's go back to that whole thing of the Amazon.
Yes.
How does that work? Because I know I use Amazon. I think it's a great idea for someone to actually go to their Amazon account and send gifts directly here to Catholic Charities. What do they do, and how do they contact you?
They can go to our website, ccdoi.org, and we have it right on our main page, the Community Cupboard campaign. You go right to our page, you can click right to our Amazon wish list, go through all the different products that we have listed, all of the different products. We have over 100 products that you can pick from. All you do is put your credit card information in, and it will directly ship to Catholic Charities Diocese of Youngstown down here in Youngstown.
That's very good. And what would you like to say to the folks that are with us, a sense of gratitude to them for helping Catholic Charities?
When you give someone hygiene products, we're giving them confidence to go to a job interview, go to school, or just feel human again. It's helping a person just feel like themselves again. That's what we're trying to do.
Breanna Crissman, Social Media Coordinator for Catholic Charities here in the Diocese of Youngstown. Thanks for spending some time with us, and also for letting the folks know that there are basic needs and essentials that people need on a daily basis that they can help with, and we want to thank you for spearheading that and also getting the word out through social media.
Thank you so much for having me.
For Wineskins, I'm Father Jim Korda. St. Mary Magdalene was the first to see the risen Lord. To tell us more is Joan Lawson. She is from St. Patrick Church in Youngstown.
The feast of St. Mary Magdalene from Magdala near the Lake of Galilee has been celebrated on July 22nd since the 10th century at Constantinople in the monastery of St. Lazarus. It was believed that her relics were transferred to that monastery in 899 from Ephesus. In the 11th century, the feast spread throughout the church in the West, and in the 12th century, the Lateran Missal identified Mary Magdalene as Mary of Bethany, whose feast was celebrated by the Greeks on March 18th. The identity of Mary Magdalene is disputed, although many Western theologians maintain that Mary of Magdala and Mary of Bethany were one and the same person. Others, such as St. Jerome, St. Ambrose, St. Augustine, and St. Thomas Aquinas, leave the question unresolved. The Greeks, however, distinguish between the two Marys and have separate feasts in their honor. The liturgical texts assert that Christ first entrusted to Mary Magdalene the joyful news of his resurrection. Mary received this testimony from the risen Lord and was told to carry the news to the apostles. "I have seen the Lord," she told them. She is therefore a model for all who are called to give witness to the risen Christ. As we ask in the opening prayer, may we proclaim Christ as our living Lord. In the prayer over the gifts and the prayer after communion, there is another theme, loving worship, and her faithful love that kept her close to Christ. St. Gregory the Great says, "Though the disciples left the tomb, she remained. She was still seeking the one she had not found. And while she sought, she wept, burning with the fire of love. She longed for him who she thought had been taken away. And so it happened that the woman who stayed behind to seek Christ was the only one to see him, for perseverance is essential to any good deed." In the Gospel according to St. John, we read that Mary Magdalene was so distraught that she did not even recognize the risen Lord when he stood before her. Mary Magdalene, who had been liberated from 7 devils, became such a faithful follower of Christ that her name is placed first in the list of women who accompanied Jesus. And even on Calvary, the faithful Mary Magdalene took her stand beneath the cross. According to the Eastern tradition, after Pentecost, Mary Magdalene accompanied the Blessed Virgin and John to Ephesus, where she died and was buried. The example of St. Mary Magdalene's ardent love for Christ, her courageous stance on Calvary, and her profession of faith in the risen Lord are relevant for us also, who have not yet fully understood the Scriptures. For Wineskins, this is Joan Lawson.
With me now is Humility of Mary Sister Judy Dohner, who is very involved with Haitian migrant ministry. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You know, we're so happy that you could spend this time with us. You're with the First Friday Club and making this presentation. And I love the title of your presentation. I'm going to read it now. It's They Are Our Teachers, the values people who are poor can teach us. You know, when we who are so blessed look at the poor, we wonder, well, why are they poor? Can't they do this or that? We don't fully understand or comprehend the tragedy of poverty sometimes. And I hearken back to Jesus' words in Matthew's gospel, the poor you will always have with you. Why is that? Why do we always have the poor with us? Aren't we doing enough for them?
Well, also, when you just said that, Jesus said the poor will always be with us. Maybe Jesus meant also they have so much to teach us. They need to be in our presence so we can learn from them.
Sure. What are some of the things that I can learn, first of all, as someone working in the church, but what can your average person learn from the poor?
I think that when I knew I was called to work with the poor, I thought it was because I was going to help them. And I think one of the first things we need to learn is that helping is not what they need. I think, well, I know that I've learned more about my own faith. One of the things that is most precious to me that I learned is that the gospel is alive where the poor are. Pope Francis said that. And when I was in Haiti, I used to say, if I don't meet Jesus every day in Haiti, I have to be sleeping or sick or not looking, because all the time. I remember we would be going to work in the street clinics, and we would find a dead body on the ground, and people would just be walking around them. So it was, taking care of the dead. It was the Beatitudes. It was the works of mercy. Always there was something there.
How did you get interested and involved in working with Haitian migrants? What was the passion? Where did it all start?
It really wasn't about the Haitians. I had after 25 years of being a nurse in my community hospitals, I went on a sabbatical and made a 30-day retreat. And on the 30-day retreat, it came clear to me that Jesus was saying to me personally, when are you going to follow me? I had always been a little uncomfortable with the comfort level that I was living as a religious working in our hospitals. And I kept thinking, Jesus was with the poor. So I went on this retreat. I came off the 30-day retreat knowing I needed to be in service with the poor, and somebody introduced me to an organization in Washington that hired healthcare workers to work in migrant clinics. So I thought, well, this is the gospel. So I was assigned to migrant clinics. I had to find my own housing. I had to find my own way there. It's like, this is just what Jesus said, don't take anything for the journey. And so I was in my 40s. I was very naive about it, but that's how I got started, and it was with migrant farm workers on the East Coast. And then I worked in Immokalee, and there were some Haitians there. Somebody invited me to go to Haiti and see how they lived, and when I went to Haiti and saw the level of poverty, I just knew God was calling me there next.
When we talk about that level of poverty, when we look around us and we see people that are lacking basic essentials, but when we look at another country where that's everybody on a daily basis living that, what does that do to the human spirit? What does that do to someone like you who tries to minister to them? Because we can only do so much for so many. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think if anybody goes into this ministry thinking they're going to be a big help and they're going to change the world. I was in Haiti at the time of the earthquake, and we had lots of medical teams coming after the earthquake to help. And we would have, especially American teams, some of the members would see a problem, they go, I know how to fix it. I wanted to say to them, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
If we coulda, we would've. Right. So, we really want to fix things. But Jesus died on the cross and Jesus rose, and we still have a mess in our world. But Jesus walked with the people. So when we decide that that's God's call to be with.
And isn't that basically what Jesus was all about? He met people one-on-one. He met all kinds of people, all different backgrounds, all different kinds of needs and wants. And so you meet people where they're at. And it's not so much like giving them a help or handout. Right. It's almost being
the hands and the heart and the soul of Jesus.
Jesus didn't raise everybody he ran into that was dead from the dead. He didn't cure every leper. Something in his spirit told him what he was to do and when he was to do it. And I think we have to see that. I was praying recently at the villa, and I was getting very discouraged about what's going on in the whole immigration issue. I said, didn't you get discouraged with all this mess? And Jesus says to me, I got tired, but I never got discouraged because it was my Father's work. I was doing what my Father asked, and that it's up to the Father.
Isn't that basically what we're all about, kind of being the instruments of the Lord? But how does one really do that? How does one get to that point where they fully understand that I'm not there to help, but I'm there to be with you?
I don't know how everybody does it. I think I did it through prayer. I think the more time one spends with the gospel, the more time one spends watching what Jesus did and learning from Jesus, then it's almost easier. Every day in Haiti was hard. I was there 18 years. Every day was hard. And yet, we would have parties and we would laugh and we would find joy in the midst of all the awfulness.
Let's focus now on the country of Haiti. Every time we turn around over these many years, we've heard terrible things, whether it's been the earthquake or the famine or AIDS or whatever it is that just befalls the people there. It almost seems like they can't get a break. Does that make sense?
I believe they can't get a break. I think that Haiti became an independent black country that had been in slavery. At the time, there was slavery all over the world.
Sure.
At the time, we still had slavery in America. Who wants to do any kind of business with a whole bunch of black people who took over a country for fear that it could happen in other countries?
Sure.
So from the very beginning, they were at a disadvantage, and I think they've been at a disadvantage all along. Now I'm in Immokalee working with them. They speak French and Creole. They're still at a disadvantage where we are in a country that speaks mostly English and Spanish.
Yeah. Let's talk about that language barrier. Why is that important for us to understand that that can be a problem?
It's not only the language barrier, it's a whole cultural barrier. The Haitians are a really loud, boisterous people, and so the Hispanics where I work in Florida just think that they're fighting or they're arguing or they're just loud. But unless they learn Spanish or English, they can't get services. I was asked at a post office one day to help the postmaster translate for somebody who needed help. I've been in drugstores where the person will say, it's a terrible disadvantage. Learning English is not easy for people in an illiterate country. Most of the people in Haiti that have not had advantage, most of the poor people didn't finish school, so they're illiterate in their own language. They were taught French in school, but they spoke Creole at home, so they didn't even practice what they were learning. It's just have a mountain to climb.
In closing, what would be one value that the poor can teach all of us?
I think it's hope. Pope Francis talked a lot about hope before he died, that even with all the troubles that are in the immigration issues in society today, they are hopeful that God is going to take care of them no matter what.
Sister Judy Dohner, we lift that up, especially in this year of hope that the late Pope Francis has designated, and we certainly wish that for the people of Haiti and for all migrants throughout the world.
Thanks.
For Wineskins, I'm Father Jim Korda.
For more pertinent information and to listen to Wineskins, visit catholicecho.org. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
It's time for Patron Saints of the Diocese of Youngstown with your Bishop, David J. Bonner.
Saint Angela Merici was an orphan who founded the Company of Saint Ursula in Italy in the year 1535. They were the first Catholic religious order of women dedicated to education, now known as the Ursulines. She is a patron saint of sickness, physically challenged people, those grieving the loss of parents, as well as St. Angela Merici Parish in Youngstown, Ursuline High School, and the Ursuline Sisters of Youngstown. Her feast day is January 27th. So happy Feast of St. Angela Merici to our friends and sisters in Youngstown. St. Angela Merici, pray for us.
When storms hit, we are there to rebuild. As our neighbors age, we lighten their burdens. As our veterans adjust, we ease their transitions. We are Catholic Charities, and we are there. Join us at wearethere.us.
Our song today is from the CD called Gift of God. It is by Marty Hagen.
Holy God.
As we celebrate this 16th Sunday in Ordinary Time, we will hear more about the sacred scriptures by Father J. Clarke.
Today, God's living words are inviting us to examine how we're doing with the virtue that stands out in the Bible as one of the most endearing characteristics of God's people, namely hospitality. It's a glorious biblical teaching for God's people to open their doors and their hearts to friends and to strangers, and to set tables for them. God wants his sons and daughters, us, to warmly welcome others. Abraham and Sarah in our first reading today practiced hospitality to strangers. Abraham and Sarah had to quickly make bread, quickly slaughter and prepare a steer, and set a table for 3 visitors who seemed to have shown up without warning. In the Gospel, Mary and Martha, they were practicing hospitality when Jesus and a few of his disciples showed up, probably unexpectedly. Today's Gospel words, however, show us that practicing hospitality will not always be pleasant or easy, or be without stress. Today we're told that Martha and Mary welcomed Jesus into their home. Sitting at the foot of Jesus, Mary is a disciple and a model whom we'd like to become more like. But would we really want to be Mary for a very long time? How would you feel if Jesus asked to stay a while in your home? If you're honest, you might admit some hesitation about that request. For example, what would it be like to be watching TV with Jesus sitting next to you and have him question you about why you regularly and routinely watch and so often waste time viewing so many programs with such questionable, immoral behaviors? What would it be like to have Jesus looking over your shoulders while you're on a computer or on your cell phone? What would it be like to turn on the evening news and have to have conversations with Jesus about political party platforms and politicians? What would it be like to have Jesus discuss with you the needs of people seeking entry into the United States from Central and South America and other places? What would it be like to have Jesus discuss with you the complicated issues of gun control, poverty, capital punishment, abortion, euthanasia, etc.? What would it be like to have Jesus a guest in your home over the weekend and hear Jesus invite himself to come to Mass with you? And you tell Jesus, "Oh, I'm not going to Mass this week," or "I don't feel like going to Mass anymore." What would it be like to have Jesus around during your disagreements, or to feel the tensions going on between you and your spouse, and between you and or your children, or between you and your parents? I think many of us, including myself, would find reasons to both welcome Jesus into our homes, but also to sigh with relief when he left. So like Mary and Martha, sometimes we rush around, sometimes we shout at each other, sometimes we're filled with stress and tension, trying to do good works, but doing them with a lousy attitude. So let's take an invitation from Jesus today. Give thought to the virtue of hospitality. Think about the quality and quantity of your hospitality, quality of hospitality in your home and in your parents'. And now, in your imaginations, allow Jesus to ask you, may I come to your home today? May I come into your heart? May I come into your circle of friends today, later this week? A lesson of the Mary and Martha story is that all the everyday happenings of our lives are part of our spiritual lives. All the everyday people of life are part of our spiritual lives as well. We need to keep the Mary and Martha in all of us in delicate balance. So I conclude with the prayer, Lord, keep us from getting so involved in life that we forget why you gave us life. Keep us from getting so involved in modern living that we forget why we are living. Keep us from getting so involved in pursuing the things money can buy that we lose perspective on the people and the things money cannot buy. For Wineskins, this is Father J. Clarke.
Who among us can look at the cross and complain about our lot in life? Martha didn't know about the cross. We do. We celebrate it in the Eucharist. That one fact should make all the difference in the world. There is really no room for self-pity in the presence of the cross of Christ. Wineskins is a production of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Youngstown. It is brought to you by the annual Diocesan Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts. I'm your host, Father Jim Korda, wishing you a beautiful week.
What have you done for your marriage today?
I gave my wife a hug this morning. I told her I love her.
I did her hair this morning. I think it looks pretty good.
I cooked my husband's favorite breakfast.
I bought her an orchid.
What have I done for my marriage today? I sent my husband a love email.
I read the newspaper to my wife, and it cracked her up. She's still laughing.
What have you done for your marriage today? Make a change for the better. Need help? Go to foryourmarriage.org, a message from the Catholic Church.
They say America is the land of opportunity, but for some, life isn't so easy. Right now in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. That's nearly 13 million children of all races, all across our country. Where do you draw the line and get involved? You can make a difference in more ways than you think. Go to povertyusa.org today, because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many. A message from the Catholic Campaign for Human Development.